مساء الخير، كيفكم؟ شو الأخبار؟ أنا جدا هيك سعيدة أول إشي يكون هيك لايف أول مع أجواء كريسماس، فينعاد على الجميع بألف خير مع السنة اللي هي مش سهلة. فأنا بانتظار ضيفتي لليوم، لايف مع ضيف، حلقة جديدة مميزة مختلفة. حلقة للمرة الثانية رح تكون باللغة الإنجليزية، واللي هو تحدي جدا كتير كبير لإلي. بس أنا حسيت إنه كان في أصداء جدا رائعة باللقاء اللي قبله. And now I'm waiting for my guest. And I'm waiting for your acceptance, please.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Ragnar. Fine, thank you.
Fina, Merry
Nice to
Christmas.
be here. Nice to be here.
Fina, this is my second time I'm talking English in my program here on Instagram, which is called Live on, with a guest, and it's my pleasure to have you. And thanks for your accept to be here with me.
You're welcome.
So let's just start. Hello, everyone. Thanks for watching our episode today. In Arabic, it's called the live مع ضيف, live with a guest. Okay. And I'm so happy to have Fina Tshitchei. I hope I'm telling your name perfect.
Yes.
And you are a parenting team consultant or educator. And for all the followers, I think maybe we have new followers today for you and for me. So who don't know me, I would like just to introduce myself. My name is Rغدة برانسي, and I'm an Adlerian parenting consultant for parents. And I'm married to Ayub. I'm a mom for Angel and Bashir. And today, Fina is going to just tell us what is her work and why we are here together today. So Fina, for you.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Fina Tshitchei. I'm a parenting teens consultant and educator. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I love teenagers. I also coach teenagers as well. So this is part of my passion, educating parents so that parents can understand their teenagers better and get on better with their teenagers. So that's what I'm all about. And it's a very positive. I come from a positive side of things. So it's not about criticizing parents. It's about showing parents the better way to parents.
And you're working in the UK only, or other places?
Yes, I'm working in the UK, but of course, now that it's online, I'm doing a lot of work in the States, in Australia, in Africa. So I'm doing a lot of things around the world.
So Corona did good for us. We can say like that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Me and Fina are going to. Yes, today we are going to talk actually about the challenges that parents face with their teenagers, and this is my first time that I have a guest who are going to talk about teenagers, because many people ask me about teenagers, and maybe you can give us the perfect answers to tonight. Okay?
Yes,
so
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So let's just try talk about this. What are teenagers? What is period?
Teenagers are children aged 13 to 19. So 13 years old to 19. So there's a lot of things going on. Sometimes some people that are even 10, 11 are already acting like teenagers. But teenagers, the age is from 13 to 19.
Okay. But today, you know, Fina, they talk about the average that it's. Let's talk that it begins in 9 in the ages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why this?
I think it's more to do with maturity. It's more to do with maturity. So by the time they're getting to 10, they also are feeling that they're almost teenagers. So they start to act like teenagers. They don't want to wear the clothes that mom says to wear. They don't want to do, so they start to act like teenagers. because they're getting close to teenagers. So
Okay.
that it's a natural thing for them. Yes.
So you say that it ends in the age of 19.
19 officially.
Okay. Let me translate this.
Yes, go for it.
اوكي، اول شيء كمان مره اهلا وسهلا، انا متاسفه ما انتقلتش للعربي. كمان مره فينا اليوم رح تكون معي ورح نحكي عن كل موضوع جيل المراهقه، فبفكر انه رح يهمكم. سالتها لفينا اول سؤال انه شو هذا الجيل، فهي قالت انه بيبدا من جيل 13 لحد 19، وانا قلت لها انه اليوم الجيل بينزل لجيل 9. فهي حكت لي مزبوط، لانه الشيء خاصه في النضوج وببلشوا يقربوا من جيل المراهقه، فهن ببلشوا يكونوا كثير قراب ويبلشوا يتصرفوا بهذا التصرف. So فينا thank you. Which changes and challenges did teenagers go through this period?
This time, yes, they go through lots of changes. First of all, they go through physical changes. So their bodies are changing. They're maturing. Girls are becoming fuller. They're growing hairs in places that they didn't think, oh, whoa, what's going on? So they're maturing. Boys as well are maturing as well. So their physical growth, and then mentally, they're growing as well. So there are many things that are going on mentally in their minds. Oh, wow, girls start to notice boys start to notice girls. Girls start to think about their looks. Oh, do I look beautiful? Oh, okay. Was there something on my face? They start to be conscious of the things that is happening in their bodies. Those are among the changes, yes, that they come through.
Fina, are teenagers all over the world go through the same changes? Or
Exactly.
we can say that in the Middle East is not as in the East, in the West?
In the West, it's the same. It's the same. Teenagers are the same everywhere.
So culture doesn't affect.
Yeah. No, I think culture just makes them, they identify with their culture, but the culture doesn't change who they are. It doesn't change their thoughts. It doesn't change their physical, the things that are going on physically. It doesn't change that. Culture is part of, okay, they live by this culture. We eat this kind of meals. We go to these kind of places. That's all culture. But the things that are going on in themselves, their thinking, their physical growth, that's all general. That's global.
Okay. So people are facing the same challenges.
Absolutely.
So what are the most let's say the most big challenge, the biggest challenge
biggest challenges. A lot of the biggest challenges is comparing themselves to other people. A lot of times teenagers compare themselves. Oh, she looks beautiful. Oh, do I look this beautiful? Oh, they have these trainers. Do I have these trainers? So they compare themselves a lot to each other.
Why
it's just their nature. It's just their nature. That's just who they are. They're looking at themselves because right now teenagers are trying to discover who they are.
Okay.
So they look at their other mates to see, what is she wearing? What is he wearing? What does he look like? He's acting confident. Oh, I need to be confident too. So they're looking for ideas. That's what it is. They're not going out to say, oh, I'm going to compare myself today to somebody. They're just looking for ideas out there to see what they can fit for themselves.
Okay. And their parents, are there ideals? Let's say that.
No, the parents are, because the parents are in a different generation, the parents cannot really decide what they're thinking at this moment. And those are the kind of problems. That's where we see the problems that happens between parents and teenagers. Parents don't understand, why are teenagers bothered about what other teenagers are doing? To parents, it's like, what's the big deal? Why? Well, teenagers, they have to find validation in their friends.
What do you think? Why parents don't understand?
Yes.
Why?
It's a generational thing. When we were growing up, so parents, when we parents were growing up, we had a different kind of idea to things that were going on. We didn't have the internet like they have the internet today. So we didn't see so many people to compare ourselves with. But teenagers today, They have their phones. They have the internet. So there are more things for them to see. There are more voices for them to hear. In our days, we only heard our families, our relatives, our cousins, our friends, our schools. But today, they have so much more they're listening to. The music, the internet, everything they're listening to. And so they're looking at them and saying, oh, I don't have that. Then they start to feel they don't feel a lot of confidence in themselves.
Okay, can I translate it please?
Yes.
طيب هيك كمان سؤالي اللي فات في بعض انا سالت فينا ايش اللي عم بمرقوا فيه بالضبط هدول الاطفال، فهي حكت عن نوعين اللي هن الفيزيكال اللي هو الجسماني، التغيرات الجسمانيه، الثاني اللي هو منتلي اللي هو نفساني اكثر، وهدول اكثر في عنده تغيرات اساسيه اللي بتصير، طبعا كمان ممكن نضيف تغيرات اجتماعيه وغيرها. ولما سالت فينا عن الكالتشر، عن الحضاره، اذا الحضارات بياثروا، فهي حكت انه لا، كل تين ايجر في العالم بمرق نفس الاشياء. سالتها معقول انه الحضاره ما بتاثر، فهي قالت لا، يعني كل المراهقين عم بمرقوا بنفس التغيرات، الحضارات ما بتاثر كثير. والسؤال الاخير كان انه ليش احنا كاهل بنستصعب انه عن جد نتواصل معهم لابنائنا، فهي حكت انه لانه هن بعالم ثاني وهن بعصر ثاني وهن بتحديات مختلفه، عاجلين اليوم في تليفونات، عاجلنا لا، فالاختلاف بين هاي الاشياء هو اللي بخلي انه احنا مش قادرين نوصل لاطفالنا. So فينا what do we need as teenagers, do you know, and as also as a parent to overcome these changes and challenges with our teenagers?
With our teenagers, very, very good question. I think for teenagers just need to learn to embrace who they are. So teenagers need to embrace who they are and not compare themselves to other people. Give themselves a chance to grow and discover who they are. And they should remember that the other people they're comparing themselves with are also trying to figure out who they are. So that's key.
How they can discover who they are?
By learning. They need to start reading more, researching more, being more committed in school, because the more they learn, the more they will have confidence in themselves. The more they learn, the more they have confidence. If they don't learn, then they don't feel that they know a lot. And when they don't know a lot, then they have low self-confidence.
Okay.
So they need to find out, what am I good in? Do I love to draw? Then draw some more. Do I love to sing? Then sing some more. Do I love to make arts and crafts? Make some more. Do I love the computers? Do I love to design? Do that some more. Everything that you love to do and you do some more of it, it will increase your confidence. And when you increase your confidence, then you don't need to compare yourself to other people.
It's very important what you are saying.
Yeah. You don't need to compare.
فينا عم بتقول لكل الاهل اللي عمالين بنضموا، اذا عندكم ابناء وبنات في جيل المراهقه رجاء ابقوا بهذا اللايف، بفكر رح يفيد كثير. عم بتقول فينا اول شغله سالتها كيف بيقدر يتحدوا المراهقين والاهالي في مرحله جيل المراهقه، فهي قالت يتعلموا. وانا كان سؤالي لإلها بعد ما هي قالت انه اكثر شيء بيعملوه بهي الفتره انهم يقلدوا اشخاص ثانيين، يكونوا بدهم مثل اشخاص ثانيين، بصيروا يراقبوا كثير الناس وياخذوا منهم امورها حتى يصقلوا نوعا ما الشخصيه. لما سالتها شو يعني قصدك بيتعلموا، فقالت هذا الجيل بنقصوا كثير ثقة في النفس، وعشان يقدروا يوثقوا في نفسهم أكثر هن بحاجة يتعلموا. ولما سألتها شو، قالت لي أول شيء يعملوا شو ما بحبوا أكثر. يعني I really liked your sentence. You said to do so more what they love. يعني اعملوا أكثر شو حبيتوا. كل ما تعلمتوا أشياء صرتوا تعملوا أشياء بتحبوها أكثر، هيك أنتوا ساعتها بتقدروا تكونوا أقوى مع أبنائكم، بيكونوا مع ثقة في النفس أكثر، ما بيحتاجوا إنهم يقارنوا حالهم بالآخرين، وهيك بيكتشفوا أشياء جديدة عن حالهم وبصيروا أقوى وبصير عندهم شخصيتين. أوكي فينا.
Awesome. I love it.
Actually, I do love what did you said, and this is the first time I heard something like that, so it's very important.
Wow.
How can we define or describe the relationship of the teenagers with their parents?
Their parents, yes. Most of the time, the relationships are good. Most of the time, the relationships are good. The only times that there's a little bit of friction is when parents don't understand their teenagers and when parents don't listen. to their teenagers. Those are the two main challenges that happens. Parents don't understand and parents don't listen. Now, parents will say they listen. Oh, yes, I was listening. Yes, I was listening. But to the teenager is thinking, no, you're not listening. You just want me to talk and that's it. So parents need to now shift. You see, when our children were little, we were speaking to them in a different way. Now that they're teenagers, we have to change in the way we speak to them. It's important because when we change in the way we speak to them, we get to understand them better. But if we don't change, you see what happens? When we don't change, the teenagers keep going and we are here. The teenagers are moving, they're growing, they're moving on, and the gap is increasing. The communication gap is increasing, the understanding gap is increasing. Parents don't understand. It's like, wait, my teenager changed. No, they didn't change, they're growing.
Good.
They're growing and we need to grow with them.
But how can we do this?
Oh yes, we can do it by talking to them differently. We've got to start talking to them like, you know, teenagers are they're figuring their way to become the adults they're going to be. We have to start talking to them more maturely. So rather than say, oh, come back here, you must do this, you must do that. No, that's not the way to talk to teenagers. You've got to talk to teenagers now with more respect so that they can respect you as well in this point.
Okay.
What do you think? Yes, you ask them questions of what do you think? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts about this. Comments like that is what makes them think more. We don't command now, like, you must do this, you must do that. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Let's talk about this later. So you're giving them suggestions because you need them to do a lot of thinking and contribution to the communication. You need them to contribute to that conversation, not just commanding them of everything they need to do. So communication has to change between parents and teenagers for the relationship to get better and the relationship to flourish, because that's what we want. Parents want the relationship to flourish. So we have to do something about it. Okay. And then they will follow.
Okay. Yeah. It's very important. I need to translate it. Yeah. Okay. كثير شغلات مهمة حكتها فينا عن كل موضوع إنه كيف بدنا نصير نتعامل أو نوصف العلاقة مع الأهل مع أطفال، يعني بين الأهالي والأبناء اللي هن مراهقين، وكيف كمان هيك بنعمل من هاي العلاقة أكثر واضحة وفيها تواصل. فقالت فينا أول شغلة إنه الأهل كل وقت بيقولوا أولادنا تغيروا، هن ما تغيروش، هن نموا، هن كبروا، هن صاروا أوعى، هن صاروا بمرحلة عمرية مختلفة، بطلوا أطفال، وإسا أجى الوقت إنه إحنا نطور علاقتنا معهم. كتير مهم يعني الاستعمال اللي هي قالت they don't change they are growing، هن ما بتغيروا، هن بنمو. وعلى أساس هذا الإشي إحنا مفروض إن نطور لغتنا معهن بتكون أكثر فيها احترام واحترام لخصوصيتهن ولأنهم كبروا. حكت إنه لازم نحكي معهم بشكل مختلف، مش كيف لما بنحكي معهم وهن أطفال. نقترح عليهن اقتراحات، نسألهن أسئلة أكثر عشان نقدر نوصل لأفكارهن. وكتير دائما الأهل بدهن يوسعوا ويقدموا من العلاقة، ما تأمروا إنما اطلبوا أو حاولوا تواصلوا. فيعني إحنا بدنا نغذي اللغة مع الأطفال، بدنا نكون بعلاقة جيدة معهن، عشان هيك لازم نشتغل على الإشي ونعرف إنه إحنا عندنا شغلتين مهمات، نفهم مالهن ونصغيلهن، نربط هدول الشغلتين. I'm trying to translate you very يعني it's just a little of what you're saying. Iman, we have a question. What if I told her? Okay. And she don't give.
I can answer that. Yes. I love that. That's a very, very important question. What if I told her to do something and she doesn't do it? So one of the things that I tell, so one of the things that I tell parents is when your teenagers, now that your teenagers are getting older, when you want them to do something, give them some space of time and say things like, okay, I want you to do this. Let's say it's for dishes. I want you to do the dishes in the kitchen and sort out the laundry. If you can do that in about an hour's time, give them some time. Because where the problem comes is where we say, go and do it right now. So when we say go and do it right now, they may have been doing something in their rooms. They may have already been doing something. And then we tell them, I told you, go do it right now. Do it right now. I've said do it right now. And then the teenager becomes angry. Oh, you know, and then conflict starts. So the key that I do, and I do that with mine, is that I tell them, okay, when are you going to do it? When are you finished with what you're doing? And then when are you going to go do it? And if they tell me, okay, I'll do it in an hour's time, then in an hour's time, I will remind them again. But usually they will go and do it in that hours because I've given them that space. So I would encourage parents to try that, and you would see that they will comply more to that. Ask them, what time are they doing it? When are they finishing what they're actually doing? Because a lot of the anger comes from, we interrupted them from something. They were doing something and we interrupted them. And what we're doing, this is not, we're not being soft when we do these kind of things. What we're doing is showing them respect of their time. That's really what it is that we're showing respect of their time. So they will still do it, but let's negotiate the time that you're going to do it. But and then in that, yes. Sorry. And then in that you're teaching them negotiating skills as well.
But Fina, showing them respect, إيمان راح أترجم كمان شوي, showing respect to their time, and then you have said that we have to remind them all the time. But do we need to remind them 10 times?
No.
Okay.
No. Then that's when we then say, okay, if you didn't do it at that time that you promised to do it, then you've lost your privilege.
Okay.
You've lost that chance, because if you want me to trust your timing, then you will do it in that time you said. You will keep to your words. Now, if you don't keep to your word, then you're giving me the allowance to get you to do it there and then. So for their sake, they will want to do it in that time because it helps them for the future things we're going to tell them to do.
And what do you mean by losing your privilege?
Like next time, I won't give you the hour. Next time I will say, okay, you've got to do it quicker, more, you know, I want it faster. But because they know they will lose. Sorry?
Limits?
Limits, yes. Oh yes. You've got to have limits. But these limits, you start to let them go as they get older. So the limits you're going to have for a 13-year-old is not the same limits you're going to have for a 16-year-old. As they get older, you start to let go. You start to let go. That's the whole principle. A lot of the conflicts, a lot of the problems is that we don't let go. And so when we don't let go, the 16-year-old is angry. Why? You're treating me like a child. Why? Why are you saying this? Why are you doing that? Then we have all the whys. Oh, everybody's now shouting the house out. Yeah. So give them that space, give them the limits, but let go as they get older. Let's go as they get older. Yes.
Okay. Thank you إيمان. جوابا على سؤالك ومشكورة للسؤال. إيمان سألت إنه طب إذا أنا بطلب من بنتي إشي وهي مش فارق معها وما بتعبر طلباتي شو أعمل؟ إيمان بتمنى إنك أنت معنا باللايف. قالت أكمل شغلة فينا كتير مهمة. قالت أول شغلة كتير مهم بهاي المرحلة العمرية نبعد شوي، نتركن هن يعملوا الأشياء ونعطيهن وقت. اليوم الشاب أو الصبية اللي هن بجيل المراهقة هن مش زي الأولاد الصغار، لما بنطلب منهن إشي بدهن يعملوه. حتى اليوم إحنا الأطفال الصغار بنقول أعطوهن فرصة إنه هن يعملوا. فكيف لما كمان أولاد وبنات مراهقين، أوكي؟ قالت إنه أعطوهن سبيس، أعطوهن محل، أعطوهن وقت، احترموا وقتهن. اللي بتعملوه لما بتطلبوا إشي إيمان هو إنكم تنطوهن الطلب، تطلبوا الإشي وتحددوا وقت وانت رح تعملوه. إذا ما بيعملوه بهذا الوقت، أنا سألت طب شو بدنا نضل نذكرهم، فقالت لا، بنحط حدود، بنحط ليميتس وبنذكرهم بأوقات معينة، وباللحظة اللي بمرق الوقت اللي هني كان لازم يعملوا فيه إشي، فهن رح يعرفوا إنه بطل عندهم البريفليج المرة الجاية أو أفضلية، أو ما بعرف إنه المرة الجاية ما رح تعطوهن الساعة الكاملة اللي أنطيتوهن إياها اليوم، وكأنه تحطوا حدود للمرة الجاية كملائمة توقعات تاع نستخدم بلغة أخرى. بس قالت إنه عشان هيك الأولاد دائما بصيروا يقولوا إنه أنت عم تتعاملوا معي زي الطفل وأنا مش طفل. فاحترموا، اعطوهن وقتهن، وثقوا انهم بيعملوا الاشياء. ماكسيموم بالمره الجايه بنحط حدود وبنقول انه لانكم ما وقفتوا في الشيء بالمره الاولى. We have a question in Arabic just كمان في فرق بين
Okay.
الحدود وجود تشوكي. فينا Mama, you are asking is that the limits are different from the age of 13 and the age of 16. Do you think is it
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, they're
How?
different. They're different because the 16-year-old is older. So let me give you an example, like bedtimes. If you're 13-year-old and if you've got a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old and you tell both of them to go to bed at 9 p.m., that's really not too fair on the 16-year-old. The 16-year-old has more years that they've lived. So we need to give them more chances so they can go to bed a bit later than the 13-year-old. It's not fair to put two of them in the same bracket. Do you see what I mean? It's not fair.
But do we really put let's say a bedtime for teenagers? I didn't know that.
Some people do. I've heard, I don't, but some people do.
Does it work?
There's a lot of conflicts with it.
اوكي. ماما سواد فينا بتقول انه مثلا انطتك مثال انه في فرق ابن ال 13 مش زي ال 16 لانه مثلا انطت مثال انه على توقيت النوم ابن 16 كثير اكبر بثلاث سنوات فممنوع ينام بنفس التوقيت اللي ابن 13 سنه بنام. فيعني هذا بتامل يكون جواب. اذا عندك كمان شيء اساليه. ايمان, now I see the difference between my two teenagers daughters. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Fina, so let's just say now what's good in this period, because all the time we see that teenagers are just trouble a period for the parents. So let's talk about the good things in this period.
Yes, it's to be honest, there are many good things in this period because they're growing and they're learning. They are full of love. They're actually full of love, but they need that love to come back to them. If we communicate with them with love and we understand them, they are great. They are great listeners as well. They listen. But also remember what I said at the start. It depends on how we're speaking to them. It depends on how we're speaking to them. They're very great listeners. And they're very good. They're very great supporters as well. They will support you. They're very good supporters. Yes, they're very good supporters. Because and the good thing with them is that because they're young, they believe a lot. They believe that things are possible. So when parents come worried about stuff, you hear a lot of teenagers saying, "Don't worry about it. I'm sure we can figure this out. Don't worry about it," because their minds are still young and curious, and they have this "I can do" or things can work out better. They have that mentality. Parents, we have gone through a lot of things growing up. We've gone through a lot. So a lot of times we think about the things that didn't work and we're saying, "Oh, how can I do this?" But teenagers, they haven't been through that. So they think it can work. I'm sure it can work. So this period is a beautiful time for them, but it's also a challenging time for them as well. So that's why we need to be there for them so that they can grow mentally and be able to kind of cope with the situations that are going on. They need us. Their mental health is so important in this season. With the COVID, with the things going on in the world today, our teenagers need us more than ever. But we need to also be there for them. And that's why I talk a lot about the changes in the way that we speak to them, the changes in the way we listen to them, the changes in the way we understand them. Because when we make those changes, they come along with us for the ride. And you see them flourish in their own things that they're doing. They flourish in school. They flourish in the things that they love to do. And parents, that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. So it's a beautiful combination of things. This time is a lovely time, but we need to expect it to be lovely. Because a lot of times parents say, "Oh, the teen years, oh, it's so hard. Oh, what am I going to do?" But your expectations, you get what you expect. So we need to change our expectations.
إيه، أهل أنا بعيش إذا أنتوا هيك يعني مبسوطين باللي تسمعوه، أنا جدا سعيدة على الأقل. هيك شعور جميل. ف I'm saying that it's just wonderful to hear you فينا. فينا حكت إنه أول شغلة من الأشياء الحلوة بهذا الجيل إن هن عمالهم بيكبروا وعندهم حب تعلم كتير عظيم. شغلة تانية إن هن ملانين حب، بس عشان هذا الحب الملانين هن فيه، هن بحاجة كمان يشعروا إن هن كمان محبوبين. آه، آه، وكأنه يرجعن هذا الحب، مش بس يحبوا ويطلعوا محبة منهم وإنما يشعروا فيه. وإنهم يتعلموا. حكينا عنها. بفكر إشي كتير شددت عليه فينا إسا كل الوقت، وكل موضوع التفاؤل، لأنه إحنا مرقنا كتير بحياتنا فإحنا بنفقد التفاؤل هيك مع الأمور اللي بنعيشها. هن بعدهم بجيل الشباب اللي بيآمنوا إنه هن بيقدروا يعملوا كل إشي. فما نقتلش هذا الإشي عندهم، بالعكس هذا كمان من الأشياء الإيجابية الرائعة. حتى مرات هن بيلاقوا لنا حلول لأشياء اللي إحنا خلص فقدنا منها الأمل، وهن بحسوا انه هن تمام مع الاشي. عدا عن هيك هن مصغرين رائعين. مزبوط. منفكرش انه هن هيك، ولكن هن مصغرين رائعين باللحظة اللي تنعطى لنا المساحة كمان انه احنا صغيرين، فهن بيرجعوا لنا. هن كتير داعمين وبيعرفوا يدعموا كان اهلهم واصدقائهم. آم، بتأمل إني ما نسيتش إشي. وإنهم بيآمنوا بكل إشي هيك بيطلع بإيدهن، هن بيشوفوا إنه هن عن جد بيقدروا. فبلاش نقتل هاي الأشياء، هاي أشياء كتير حلوة بهذا الجيل. بس قالت فينا إنه إحنا هن بدهن إيانا، هن بحاجة لإلنا بهاي المرحلة. جيل المراهقة مش معنا بطل بحاجة لإلنا. بحاجة لإلنا عشان يضلهم واثقين في نفسهم إنه إحنا عنوان موجودين إذا بمروا إشي، عشان يمرقوا المراحل بأكثر سلاسة. فينا. Do COVID-19 is something special for teenagers? Did something special for them, for good and for bad? Let's say.
I would say mostly for bad. I would say
For bad.
mostly for bad because teenagers are very right now in the teenage age. Their friends mean a lot to them. Social development is very, very important to them. So what COVID did, what the lockdown prevented them from seeing a lot of their friends, going to the shopping mall, just hanging out and even going to school in the beginning. They couldn't go to school at the beginning. So that affected a lot of teenagers because they were not used to it. They used to, okay, be at home weekends and the evenings. But from April or March till September, most of them were home. They couldn't go out. They couldn't do things. So it affected them because they didn't know what else to do. So it affected a lot of them. So going back to school was a relief for many of them. And some countries, some schools are still not, some people are still not going to school. Some people are just having to do, in the UK, they're going to school. Yeah, they're going to school in the UK. Yeah,
and what is your advice for that?
Oh, really? Yeah. So the thing is, and that caused a lot of issues as well for them. They were lonely. They were missing their friends. And now that school is back on, you see that most of them are actually excited for school. So this COVID season actually made us realize that these teenagers, their friends mean a lot to them. Their friends mean a lot to them. And their friendship, it doesn't mean that their parents don't mean a lot. It's just that part of their development in this season has to do with their friends. They want to hear from their friends. They want to talk to their friends. They want to chat with their friends. So that made a massive difference for all of them. It made a big, big difference. So I would say that was the bad from it, from COVID. The good, many of them probably started reading more at home because they were stuck at home. Some of them did more research on the computer, it depends on the teenagers. I know for mine, she would watch stuff and she would play the piano and then sometimes she would be bored, so she had her different moods. She had her different moments in that season. But what I did, I know that for me, what I did is I listened more to her in that season. I listened more because I could tell sometimes when she wasn't in a good mood, then I would listen more and talk more with her. So those were one of the things. So I felt that in that COVID, our relationship actually got stronger, is what I would say, because I spent more time just trying to understand and listen and just be there for her. Yeah.
Okay. فينا بتقول سألتها عن فترة الكوفيد أو الكورونا، وقالت إنه يعني أكيد قرب العلاقات لكتير، بس كانت هي فترة سيئة شوي للمراهقين، لأنه أهم إشي في حياتهم لسه بهاي المرحلة من الأصدقاء، وما كان عندنا هذا الإشي. بس في كتير كمان مراهقين آخرين اللي يمكن بسبب إنهم قاعدة في البيت صاروا يقرأوا أكثر أو يمارسوا موهبة أو هواية معينة أكثر. أوكي. and فينا we talked about what good in this period and what is just like bad or hard in Corona or COVID for them. And could you please say again what makes it hard to be a teenagers?
What makes it hard? Yes, they have what makes it hard to be a teenager today is because they don't have the experience of life. They don't have the experience of life, so they're worried about many things. You see, we as parents, we've gone through a lot of things. We have the experience, so many things don't bother us because we know we've been there. For them, they haven't experienced it, so they're worried. What would I look like? What would I be? What kind of adult will I be? What kind of job will I have? Would I pass my exams, my final exams? Will I have friends? Will I get married? Will I have a boyfriend? Will I have this? Will I have that? They're worried about so many things, and it makes it challenging for them because they're worried about this. And then for us as parents, because we've been there, we've done that, we're thinking, why are you worried about that stuff? But they have a genuine reason to be worried because they haven't been through it. So they have a genuine reason. Our job is to understand their worries and say, you know what? It's okay. It's okay that you're worrying, but it will pass. It's okay that you're worried. But I worried. I always share them stories of mine as well. I tell them I worried as well at that age. So it's understandable that they're worried. But you give them hope. You talk to them about hope and say, you know what? That's why keep working hard. You will get the job of your dreams. Keep working hard. You will get the business you want. That's why I encourage you to work hard so that you get these things that you desire.
Okay. I know you have read the question, but just let me please translate the important things you have said. سألتها شو اللي بيخلي في المرحلة العمرية للمراهقين صعبة، فقالت لي شغلتين مهمات، إنه ما عندهمش خبرة حياة، فكل إشي بضايقهم، مش زينا هيك مرقنا اندعكنا شوي في الدنيا. والسبب الثاني إنه عندهم كل الوقت قلق من كل إشي. وهون دورنا كأهالي إنه إحنا نطمنهن، نعطيهن أمل. لما هن بيقولوا قلقانين من إشي نعطي شرعية لهذا القلق ونقولهن إنه إحنا عارفين وإحنا فاهمين هذا القلق، بس إذا أنت هيك بتشتغل وبتسعى أنت رح تقدر تاخذ الوظيفة اللي بدك إياها. إذا أنت ما بتعمل إكس واي زد فأنت رح تقدر توصل اللي بدك إياه. كثير مهم إنه نشجعهن ونجرب نساعدهن إنن يوصلوا للي هن بدهم إياه، ونحسسهن إنه في أمل يوصلوا. يعني نساعدهن من محل معنوي ونشجعهن كل الوقت. Iman asked, what if my teenager talk with me like
their friend? Yes,
friend.
Yes. It's a very, very common question, and I love that she's asked that question. And I actually, it was recently I shared a video on something to do with that. So my advice to parents is we need to talk to our teenagers not in a correcting setting. So in a setting where you guys are just chatting about different things. Let's talk. Let's understand. This is what respect means. And this is what disrespect means. I'm not your friend. I'm your mom. I know how you talk to your friends, but that's not the way to talk to me. But don't say this when they have just done it. So this stuff that I'm telling you now to say it in a casual conversation. You guys are having dinner, you're driving in the car, and then you just give some examples. Just say some examples. Don't answer and say, oh, what? Yes. That kind of stuff. That shows as disrespect. Answer normally, like yes, mom, yes, ma, depending on the way that you understand, you know what respect means. Our teenagers need to know what respect means, because for them, when they're talking to their friends in school, they feel that it's no big deal, and that's the way they talk. But they need to understand that, okay, if you're talking to parents, that's different. But you've got to say it as a conversation, not as, why do you talk to me that way? You mustn't talk to me. I'm not your friend. Don't talk to me that way. When you do it in that kind of manner, then it doesn't really sink in. They're like, oh, she's just complaining. She's just complaining. But when you speak to it as a conversation, just speak to it as a conversation. That's when it gets to them. But they need to know. Because as children, we taught them, we said, this is what you do. This is what you don't do. This is what you do. Now, as teenagers, we need to now tell them what it's like. What does respect mean as a teenager? And what does it look like to disrespect? Because if not, your teenagers will talk to you the way they talk to their friends. And for them, they will say, well, it's no big deal. That's just the way I talk. That's just the way I talk. But we need them to understand that there are differences. We need them to understand. We need them to understand. See, okay. So that's where a lot of confusion comes. So this is what I advise parents. I tell parents.
Could you please just read this?
Yes. So the reader, she says, but sometimes, even usually, I told her, I'm not just your mom, I'm your friend. So see, that this is where it confuses teenagers. When we tell teenagers that we are their friends, they want to talk to us like they talk to their friends. So instead of saying, I'm your friend, say things like, I'm a friendly mom. I'm a friendly mom. Is because if not, a friend, the teenager would then talk to you like a friend.
What's the difference between to say I'm your mom, I'm your friend, or I'm your friendly mom?
Friendly mom. So a friendly mom is a mom who is friendly. So a mom who acts friendly, who talks to you friendly. You know, you have that friendly character. You're not harsh on your child. You're not domineering on your child. But when you call your child your friend, and to be honest, many people do that, but sometimes it confuses the teenagers. Because if you're their friends, they should be able to talk to you anyhow they want. Because they talk to their friends anyhow. But I understand that part of being their friends in that way, because you're trying to tell them that they can share stuff with you. They can share stories with you. They should feel free to talk to you. So I understand that part. But then if you look at it on the other side, yes, being approachable, exactly. But then if you look at it on the other side, some teenagers will take it a bit far and say, oh, well, since you're my friend, this is how I roll with my friend. This is how I talk with my friend. So you shouldn't feel funny about it.
I would like to translate in just in one sentence, please. بالأهم باختصار لكل اللي حكته هلا فينا، حكت عن أهمية الفروق بين إنه أنا مش صديقة، أنا أم، بس أنا بقدر أكون أم اللي هي ودودة للأطفال، لأطفالها بتسمع لهم وبتصغي لهم وبتشاركهم وبتعمل معهم الأمور، بس هذا ما بيعملها صديقة. وهون إحنا مش لازم وكأنه نكسر الحد، نكون واضحين بحدودنا. بس في شغلة كمان حكيناها قبل، لما سألنا على كل موضوع العلاقة بين الأطفال، بين الأبناء والأهل، اللي لما أولادنا بيتعاملوا معنا كأنه إحنا أصحابهم، بكل بساطة إن نعلم أبنائنا المراهقين شو الفرق بين الاحترام وعدم الاحترام بهاي المرحلة العمرية. أولادنا بسهولة رح يجوا يحكوا معنا كأنه إحنا أصدقائهم، وهون واجبنا إحنا نذكرهم إنه إحنا الأهل، إحنا مش أصدقاء، وإنها اللغة مش ملائمة إنه يحكوا معنا هيك، ونعمل هاي التوضيح لإلهن، ونقولهم كيف إحنا كنا بنحب يتعاملوا معنا، شو بنحب يحكوا معنا، عشان ما يتخربطوا وما تضيع التواصل. Thank you. Perfect. Fina, let's just continue with our question, but I have to say that I'm very excited about the questions that
yes.
Okay, so what could help us as parents to communicate with our teenagers?
We've got to learn to listen. Listen. And I have a question I always ask parents to ask their teenagers in listening, because sometimes you could say, oh, I'm listening to you, but your teenagers don't think that you're listening. So I ask parents to say, ask your teenager, when do you know that I am listening to you? When do you know that I'm listening to you? That's a good way to find out how to listen to your teenager. Because parents, we're used to doing so many things at the same time. I can be cooking, I can be doing this and saying, oh yeah, talk, I can hear you. Yeah. I can hear you. We're used to double, multitasking. I can hear you. Your teenager is like, oh, she's not listening. So find out from your teenager, how do they know that you are listening? And when your teenager says, oh, when I'm listening, like for me, my daughter says when I'm listening, that I say it back to her. So what she has told me, I repeat it back to her. So guess what? Now, when she's talking to me, if I was cooking or doing something, I leave that. And then I'm looking at her and and then I'm repeating what she's saying. So what she told me, how she hears or how she knows I listen to her, now I do that more. Yeah?
Yes.
Some other people.
You.
Sorry? Oh, it's agreed.
Yes, she just said it. What's the meaning of listening in Arabic?
Okay. Listening. Yeah.
You can continue, Fina.
Okay. So, and then some other. I think my son. When I do this a lot. So you notice me when I'm listening, I do this a lot. So that they know I'm listening because I'm doing that. And so I continue to do that. So I would advise parents, ask your children and say, when do you know I'm listening to you? And then the answer they give you, start to do that more. Start to do that more. Because you want them to know that you're listening to them. When you listen to them, guess what happens? They share more with you. When you listen to them, they can talk more to you. And you can actually, because when you listen to them as well, guess what? They listen to you more too.
اوكي بيرفكت. فينا حكت عن الاصغاء اللي كيف ايمان انت قلتي صحيح، مش انه نسمع اطفالنا، بينفعش احنا نسمع لهم واحنا نقول ونكون مشغولين، انما احنا بحاجه نكون بكل حواسنا معهم صغيرين عن جد، وبالذات بجيل المراهقه. وبالاخير اضافت جمله انه لما احنا بنصغي احنا كمان رح نلاقي منهم مشاركه، يعني الابناء بيجوا بيشاركوا اهل اللي هنا عن جد بصغورهم، لما احنا ما بنصغيرهم هن مش رح يشوفوا فينا عنوان يجوا يشاركونا. Thank you, Fina. And let me please ask you about how teenagers look and how they see their parents.
And they see their parents. They love their parents. They love their parents.
They don't like us.
Yeah, but yes, because we're from two different generations. We're from two different generations, and they show their love in different ways. You know, a lot of times when we grew up, our parents, we did things for our parents. So, our parents wanted us to clean the house or do things. We went overboard. Oh, we'll have to clean the house to make mom happy. We have to do this to make dad happy. Teenagers today, that's not their aim. Their aim is it's to say things like, I love you. That's fine with them. They know that they love you. So the difference is the generation. We grew up in a different time than they are growing up now. So there's a difference in the way that we express love compared to how they express love. For them, the fact that we listen to them is a big deal. That's love for them. The fact that we say, I love you, that's a big deal for them. In our days, I don't remember many parents saying, I love you. I know for them, exactly. But for them, that's a big deal. That's a validation. So they are those few differences between them. But they do love to connect with their parents. But they want parents to understand them better.
Thank you. فينا بتقول إنه أهم إشي عشان نقدر نوصل لأطفالنا، أول إشي سألتها أنا كيف هن بيشوفونا أبنائنا المراهقين، فقالت لي هن كتير بحبونا، يعني أبنائنا المراهقين، بس حبهن مش كتير هيك بيكون بتمرق بالطريقة اللي إحنا بنتوقعها. هن بيسمعونا وهيك هن بيورجونا حب، هن بيصغونا وهيك هن بيورجونا حب، وهن لما بيشوفونا إنه إحنا من صغيرين هن دغري رح يرجعوا لنا هذا الحب. حكت إنه يعني في فرق بالأجيال، وعشان هيك حبا بطريقة مختلفة، إحنا بدنا يحبونا بطريقة، بس بيطلعوها بطريقة مختلفة، وإحنا لازم نكون هيك جاهزين عشان كل الطرق اللي هن بدهم إياها فينا. Do you think that the teenagers, our teenagers, can help us how to just to be in good relationship with them?
They can help us, but it's going to take us as well to be accepting of that. We have more changes to make than they have, because they are growing, so naturally that's what they want. Because we are the adults, so we have more work to do in getting that connection going. We have more work to do.
When we need each other.
Oh, loads of times. We need each other. We need each other when we are speaking to each other. We need to know that we're there for each other at all times. Even in their schoolwork, when they have, especially make mistakes. Especially when our teenagers make mistakes or they don't do so well in school. How are we supporting them in that moment? Are we screaming at them and saying, wow, why didn't you do this? What are we doing in those moments? Because that's key to how they are going to rise up when they make mistakes in the future. A lot of times, teenagers are not taking risks. They're not pushing the boat. They're not going outside the box because they're afraid to make mistakes. And they're afraid to make mistakes because of parents' reactions. So we need to learn how to be more supportive, and then the connection can get closer and closer. And that connection is closer depending on how we react when they do wrong things and make mistakes.
فينا عم بتقول إنه هن كتير بحاجة لنا باللحظات اللي بيعملوا فيها أخطاء، وبالذات غاد هن بحاجة لحبنا ومحبتنا، لدعمنا. يعني بعكس شو إحنا بنتوقع لما بغلطوا بنتركهن أو بنغضب عليهن، إنه لا، ندعمهن ونعلمهم كيف بيعالجوا الأشياء. والأهم إنه بهاي اللحظات إحنا ما يعني بالعكس ندعم، ننطي ثقة، مش نترك ونروح، لأنه هن غاد بحاجة يمكن لآليات نعطيهم إياها كيف يعالجوا الأشياء وكيف يتعاملوا معها. Thank you, Fina. It's just perfect. Which tips could you give for parents in order not to feel frustrated from their teenagers? Let me just translate my question before. Okay. عم بطلب منها إسا نصائح لكيف إحنا ممكن ما نحسش بإحباط من أبنائنا المراهقين. Yes, please.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, number one tips is to remember that your teenager is unique. So your teenager is different from every other teenager. Number two, try and not compare your teenagers to other people, because that's where the problem comes from. When we compare, we say, oh, this person is doing that well and you're not doing that well. This person is doing this, that person is doing this. So please let us not compare. So number one, they are unique. Number two, please don't compare. Number three, support them. Support them. Because when you don't support them, they have the internet. They have many voices that they will go to. Many voices are in their ears. You want to be one of the number one voices in their minds. That is your aim. So if you're going to be one of the number one voices in their minds, you've got to be their number one supporter. Okay. Yes, they will make mistakes. Yes, they will make mistakes. Correct them maturely, but still be there for them. Don't go back to the past mistakes they made. Let go of the past mistakes they made. Don't refer back. That's how you did this. That's how you did that. Don't refer back to the past. Let go. Speak about their future. Tell them how you believe in what they're going to be. Speak about their future. Because the more you speak about their future, the more they start to visualize their future. When they make decisions, always connect it to their future. When they make choices, connect it to their future. Tell them these are the kind of decisions people that are going to be leaders do. People that are leaders don't do this. They don't do this because you're giving them that vision that they are leaders. And the more you talk to teenagers about their future and the leaders they're going to be in the future, the more they take responsibility of their actions, because in their minds, they're saying, oh, I'm a leader. I'm going to be a leader in the future. So I need to watch what I'm doing. Share stories with them. Share your own stories when you were a teenager. You had struggles when you were a teenager. Share it with them. They need to know that you are not perfect. Because when they think you're perfect, then they struggle with their own identity. And when you can do these and listen more to them, you've got it going with them. You've got it going with them. And they will flourish. And as they flourish, you will be proud of them. You will be proud of what you're seeing right in front of you. It takes work. It takes consistency. It takes that support. Never giving up. Never, ever giving up. Amazing.
Wow. طيب فينا I'll try to translate these things. سألتها إنه كيف ما نشعرش بإحباط من أطفالنا. حكت إنه أول إشي نعرف إن هن مميزين، هن فريدين من مين ما هن. اثنين حكت إنه ما نقارنهن بغيرهن لأنه هذا ممكن عن جد يهدم كثير أشياء عندهن. ثلاثة إنه ندعمهن كل الوقت، لأنه بلحظة اللي ما بندعمهن هن رح يرجعوا ويسمعوا ويروحوا على الإنترنت ويبحثوا عن أصوات أخرى غاب. وكثير مهم نكون إحنا الصوت الأول والأساسي عند أطفالنا وأبنائنا المراهقين، وإلا رح يروحوا عند الأصوات الأخرى اللي ممكن إحنا ما نكون راضيين وعن جد توصلنا لمحل عاطل. كثير حكت إنه لما بيعملوا أخطاء إحنا بننفع نصلحهن، بس دائما نحكي عن المستقبل ودائما ننطي الأمل بإن هن بيقدروا يغيروا ويتطوروا وينضجوا. ما نضلش نحكي عن أخطاء الماضي، هذا إشي سوبر مهم شددت عليه. نشاركن بأخطائنا وبقصصنا القديمة. وحكت إنه كل ما حكينا معهن بأمل على مستقبلهن رح يبلشوا يشوفوه في رأسهن ويبلشوا عن جد يحلموا بهذا المستقبل ويشتغلوا على أن يبنوه، بدل ما نضل محاطينهن وين ما هن بنفس المحل. وعن جد بيحملوا مسؤولية على هذا المستقبل. فينا we are just in the I think 3 or 2 minutes last
Okay.
2 minutes.
Yes,
So
yes.
please let's just answer one or last 2 questions very quickly.
Okay.
What parents need to have or know or learn or ask in order to feel strong in front of their teenagers?
Yes, okay. Number one, parents should not be afraid of their teenagers. They shouldn't be afraid of their teenagers, because when you're not afraid, then you're able to share more. Allow your teenagers to ask your teenagers questions. Ask them questions. Tell your teenagers that you want to understand them better. And then that fear would definitely go down. You don't need to be afraid of your teenagers. You need to be able to correct them, but correct them in a more mature way.
اوكي. حكت عن 3 اشياء انه كيف نكون نواجه مراهقينا ونكون قوايا قدام من دون ما نخاف. واحد انه ما نخافش منهن لانه هن ابنائنا وبخوفوش. 2 نسالهن اسئله عشان عن جد احنا هدفنا نفهم عليهن ونكون معهن ونساعدهن، مش عشان نصغر منهن ولا نبحث من وراءهن. واخر شغله نصلح امور معينه لازم عن جد تتصلح، بس الاهم انه ما نخاف منهن. بيبقى عندنا السلطه الوالديه، هي دايما بقولها ونتذكرها. Thank you. And the last question, what benefits could teenagers get from this period of their lives? You actually said, but we can say it again and again.
Yes. They can get a lot, because now that we're in the global society, they can learn from outside the world. They can learn, they can listen to YouTube videos and learn what is going on. Whatever they're interested in, they love to do, they can practice that some more. The world is at their feet. They can learn a lot more. They've got the opportunities. Every teenager make use of the opportunities.
بتقول فينا انه هاي المرحله الانسب ان يتعلموا اكثر واكثر واكثر وما نوقفن عن هذا الشيء، بس عن جد بالذات لانه اليوم في انترنت وهيك وصولنا للعالم اكثر، فهو كثير سهل ان يتعلموا اكثر وتعطيهم هاي الفرصه. فعن جد هي مرحله جدا مميزه. فينا we are just after that.
Yes, amazing.
First of all, I would like to thank you very, very much. You have just you're a very nice person, and I just it was interesting to hear you talking about this, about teenagers. And I would like to thank all the people that just watched us. So do you want to say last thing or last advice?
I just want to say thank you as well to you. You did amazing. I mean, I'm so impressed, you know, with the language changes and stuff. Amazing. Well done. And a very nice host as well. I really enjoyed it. I love talking about teenagers and parents. So you made my day. I loved it. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the audience that watched as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This episode is going to be on Instagram or also on YouTube. Yes, okay. And I will send it to you, Fina. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
It was
lovely
it was my pleasure. Please follow Fina. I will put her Instagram now. شكرا للجميع. شكرا إيمان. شكرا ماجي وجونا. Good night, everybody. Merry Christmas already. And I hope you get good luck with your teenagers. This is the last thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.